Have you ever heard of the Bogomils? They were a Christian group that started in Bulgaria during the 10th century and had some very unique beliefs. Their name, Bogomil, means dear to God. Some think it came from a priest named Bogomil, who may have started the movement. It began during the rule of Tsar Peter I, in an area that is now part of Macedonia. What's really fascinating is how far their ideas spread and how long they lasted. The Bogomils believed that the world was divided into two parts: the spiritual world and the material world. They thought the spiritual world was good and pure, but the material world was evil and corrupt. Unlike most Christians of their time, they didn't use crosses or build churches. Instead, they believed their bodies were sacred like temples. To keep themselves pure, they practiced fasting and dancing. The Bogomils were against the authority of both the church and the government, which made their ideas very popular with regular people. Their movement didn't stay in Bulgaria. It spread across the Balkans and even reached countries like Italy and France, where it influenced groups like the Cathars. The name Bogomil might also come from Greek words meaning loved by God. Some people think the name refers to the priest Bogomil, while others think it was just a title for the group. In some Old Slavic texts, they were called babuni, which means something like superstitious people. Unfortunately, most of what we know about the Bogomils comes from their enemies. Many of their writings were destroyed, but we do have some information from critics like Patriarch Theophylact of Bulgaria and Cosmas the priest. The Bogomils believed that God created human souls, but they said everything material, like the earth and human bodies, was made by Satan. This was very different from what most Christians believed. The Bogomils were probably influenced by another group called the Paulicians, who came from Armenia. The Paulicians also believed the material world was evil, and thought there were two forces, one good and one evil. In the 10th century, many Paulicians were sent to Bulgaria by a Byzantine emperor, which might explain why their beliefs were so similar to the Bogomils. Bogomilism wasn't just a religion, it was also a way for common people to fight back against the powerful. Peasants liked their ideas because the Bogomils rejected the church and the government. However, this made them enemies of those in power. In Serbia, they were kicked out and called heretics. Many of them fled to Bosnia, where their beliefs continued to grow. Over time, their presence led to conflicts, and some rulers, like the Hungarians, used the Bogomils as an excuse to invade Bosnia. Even though they faced persecution, the Bogomils' ideas didn't disappear right away. Some think their beliefs influenced the Bosnian church, but not everyone agrees. By the 15th century, when the Ottoman Empire took over the region, Bogomilism had mostly faded away. And in medieval Bulgaria, Bogomilism grew because many people were unhappy with the church and government. When Christianity came to Bulgaria, it was introduced by the rulers, but most church services were in Greek, a language most people didn't speak. This made them feel disconnected from their religion. During Tsar Simeon I's rule, constant wars caused destruction and suffering in Thrace, leaving many people upset and struggling. Under Tsar Peter I, things didn't improve. Taxes were very high, and the church, instead of helping people, seemed greedy and corrupt. Many people felt abandoned and started looking for new ways to find hope and meaning in their lives. This is when Bogomilism began. Bulgaria was already familiar with other religious ideas like Manichaeism and Paulicianism, which influenced the Bogomils. Bogomilism developed as a way to protest against the church and the rulers. The Bogomils believed that Satan created the physical world, making it full of corruption, while God's world was pure and spiritual. This idea of good versus evil made sense to people who were facing hard times. During Tsar Samuel's reign, the Bogomils were not heavily persecuted, which suggests they may have gained some acceptance. They openly criticized the rich and powerful, teaching their followers to reject the authority of rulers and wealthy people. They believed working for earthly masters was wrong and focused instead on living a pure spiritual life. They also rejected the rituals and sacraments of the Orthodox Church, which made them very different. The beliefs of the Bogomils evolved over time. Early on, they believed God was stronger than Satan. Later, they believed in two equal forces, God and Satan, locked in a constant battle. They told stories about Satanael, a rebellious son of God, who created the material world to trap humanity. Salvation, they said, came through Michael, who was the same as Jesus Christ. Michael freed people from Satanael's control. These stories gave people hope and helped them understand their struggles while reinforcing their distrust of the church. The Bogomils practiced what they preached. They lived simple lives, rejected wealth, and avoided traditional church practices. Their communities were more equal, allowing women to take on leadership roles, unlike the Orthodox Church, which was led by men. They also opposed monasteries and fasting rituals, which set them apart from other Christians. Even though they faced opposition, the Bogomils left a lasting mark. They shared their ideas through special texts that mixed Bible stories with their own beliefs about creation and the fight between good and evil. Their influence spread to the Balkans and Western Europe, inspiring groups like the Cathars in France. Most of what we know about the Bogomils comes from their critics, who accused them of heresy and even devil worship to discredit them. Still, their ideas survived and influenced later religious movements. The Bogomils story shows how people can find new ways to search for truth and freedom when faced with injustice and hardship.